Welcome, my creatures of night. It is I, King Beanie, and today I bring you a story by C. Scott Rayburn called The Donor. Working in a graveyard must be hard. Seeing all the sad families come by, honoring their dead, or just seeing a funeral. It takes a lot of heart to deal with it. But what happens when no one else is around? Well, join me and find out. Sitting in what might have been a graveyard, Tom was buried deep inside his head, playing the keys of his laptop. The Uptown Cafe saw less than a handful of customers the past few hours. Not many people went out for late-night coffee during the storm. Tom had to be here, though. Come rain or shine, his next book wasn't going to write itself. A double pull from an Ethiopian blend. The sky splitting open. And an alternative music set the perfect stage for writing. Lights, camera, action. The bell to the front door chimed. Tom looked up to see a man over 6 feet, water dripping from a worn trench coat, and face hidden behind the brim of a leather fedora. He watched as the stranger approached the counter and set a box on the glass. The barista shouted something from the back, but the man didn't respond. He turned to leave, noticing Tom for the first time. The light revealed a scar that traveled from the side of his right eye to his jawline. Tom shuddered and looked away as the man continued back into the night. Wiping his hands on his apron, the barista appeared from the back. He's confused as he sees that no one else is in the cafe other than Tom. When he catches sight of the box, his face hardens. He hurries to the front door and peers outside, searching for something, someone. When he returns behind the counter, he flips a latch on the front door of the black box, and the lid pops open. He recoils in disgust. Then his expression fades into a satisfied grin. He looks up, making eye contact with Tom, who looks away. The barista shuts the lid and removes it from the counter. A second later, he's at Tom's side, taking his empty cup. Can I get you anything else, sir? No, thank you, answered Tom. He looked at his name tag. Ricky is scribbled in red Sharpie. Well, we're going to have to close, says Ricky. You know, because of the storm and all. Oh, right, said Tom. Ricky walks away to grab the tub of dishes in the corner and disappears to the back. Tom gathered his things and put on his overcoat. The wind was picking up, and the rain was falling a little harder. Tom made his way along the damaged sidewalks to the parking lot around the back. Listen, I know I'm short, but don't worry, heard Tom from behind the cafe. Ricky was pleading with someone near a dumpster. Look, it's still $20,000. I'll get the rest this week. I don't know what you had to do to get this, but I'm sure glad you did, said Ricky, holding the box. The man standing in the dark trench coat was silent. I promise, man, I'm good for it, said Ricky. Before Ricky could open his mouth again, there was a flash of movement, and Tom heard the crack of Ricky's skull against brick. Tom's breath caught as he watched the scrawny barista fall to the ground. Before he saw, Tom took off at a jog towards his car. He fumbled with his keys and finally managed to unlock his door, taking cover inside. Tom was horrified. He was sure that the man in the trench coat had just murdered Ricky. Over what, he didn't know. One thing was for sure. There was money involved. $20,000 to be exact. That was big. He wasn't the type of man for confrontation, but he needed to do something. He took out his phone and started dialing 911. When he saw movement out of his windshield, the man in the trench coat was dragging Ricky's body across the parking lot. Tom slumped down in his seat in case he was in some way visible out his window. The stranger walked right past Tom's car to a tow truck a few spots down and threw Ricky's body in the back. The truck was dark green and carried a large winch used for hauling away the dead. Bright yellow lights pierced the night as the truck revved to life. Tom had an idea. Still panicked, he put aside his phone and reached for his bag. He took a pen out and grabbed a black notebook lying in the passenger seat. As the tow truck pulled away, he wrote down the license plate number. Now he just needed an address. Tossing the little black book on the dash, he started his car, set his lights to dim, and began his pursuit. The truck wasn't moving fast. It idled through the downtown streets like a tourist. If he didn't know there was a body in the back of the truck, Tom might have thought that that man was simply seeing the sights. It was hard to follow at a safe distance in all the rain, but lucky for him, tow trucks were hard to miss. The street soon curved, and Tom saw the glow of brake lights as the stranger pulled into an old house beside the town cemetery. Tom stopped next to a parking meter and killed the engine. He looked around for something to use as a weapon. Out of all the clutter in his car, his best option was a corkscrew on a wine key. He cursed himself, throwing the wine key out to the floor, and shoved the pen and notebook in his pocket. Getting out of the car, he snuck around to the gate, not bothering to pay the meter. He figured that the city wouldn't mind on account he was doing his civil duty, protecting citizens from crazed gravekeepers. There were no lights in the cemetery. As frequently as Tom visited the cafe, he couldn't understand how he failed to ever notice it before. It sat forgotten on the edge of downtown, and nighttime suited it well. It was different than the modern cemeteries with structures made of bright, smooth marble. The cemetery had an air of the Gothic, consisting of jagged stones, dying rose bushes, and large oak trees with their giant limbs crawling throughout. The iron gates leading inside displayed two angels, blowing their horns towards the sky as if trying to wake the dead. The border of the cemetery consisted of no more than simple iron bars, wrapping all the way around. Keeping quiet, he traced the fence line until he had a clear vision of the stranger. Near a set of stone steps with a cross perched at the top, Tom could make out the black figure of the stranger hunched over the fresh corpse. His hands moved with dexterity over the body, like he was performing surgery. Tom watched as the stranger removed something from Ricky's body and placed it inside a box, just like the one at the cafe. Metal tools clanked and echoed throughout the air as the stranger finished his operation and stood to his feet. He carried his box with his new prize back out and placed it inside the truck. When the stranger had returned to get rid of the body, Tom went to see if he could find the money. He did need physical evidence to give to the police, after all. What Tom had witnessed was cold-blooded murder. Over money, nonetheless. But why was this body part so important? We will find out next week, and what happened to poor Ricky. Please follow me, like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. Thank you for watching, my creatures of the night.